Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this fabulous little 1/12 scale chair. It's based on a fold-in chair design, but this is actually fixed. I'll just bring the craft shed in and show you how that looks inside. There's our shed. And I'll just pop the chair in there. So once again, I've put the cut-in list for the chair in the description below. That way you can copy and paste to print that off more easily. Coming up next is a list of the tools you'll need, and then we'll get started. Okay, once again for this project I'm using a beche wood. You could also use basswood. Both of these woods are available to purchase in my Etsy shop. You'll need a craft knife, and I use this Swan Morton knife which takes a size 10A blade, a steel rule obviously for marking and for cutting the wood along with your craft knife, a nice sharp pencil for accurate marking, an eraser, a suitable wood glue. I use this Gorilla Glue which bonds really quickly, cocktail sticks for applying the glue and removing glue from along the joins, a mini pin drill, and we just use that for drilling the tiny hole in the back of the chair back, a couple of grades of sandpaper, a medium and a fine grade, and then your choice of paint, wood dye or varnish, and I'm using this emulsion paint. Okay, let's get started. Okay, before we start I've just sort of divided all my pieces out so I know what's what. So I've got the 7 seat slats over here and the 2 seat supports, and we're going to be doing that piece last. So I'll just pop those to one side, and then we've got our 2 supports over here, our cocktail stick and the chair back, which is easy to distinguish because that's the thicker piece, and then here I've got the long and the short legs. And I just find when you're doing something that's got a lot of little parts, it's easier just to set them all out so you know what's what before you make a start. Right, so we're going to make a start by marking up the legs, and we'll start with the long legs and turn them on their side, and then we're going to make pencil marks from what will become this top edge. I'm going to start with a pencil mark at 2mm, or in inches that is 5/64 of an inch from the top. The second one will be 18mm, and that's 45/64 of an inch, and then lastly 54mm, and that's 2 1/8 of an inch. And then never measure from what you've just done, because if it's slightly out they both will be. And then do the second leg, so 2mm, 18mm and 54mm, and that's 5/64 of an inch, 45/64 of an inch and 2 1/8 of an inch. So that's on the long legs. And then we're going to do the same thing with the short legs, and this time we want it to be 13mm from the top and 37mm from the top, and that's 33/64 and 1 29/64. Okay, and then do that on the other piece as well. So 13 and 37, 33/64 and 1 29/64. Okay, and then what we're going to do, is round over both ends of each piece. So take a piece of sandpaper, lay it flat on your work surface, and we just want to begin by rounding off that corner. So just sweep it towards you, only a few times because we don't want to take away from the length. And do it on the other side as well. We're just getting rid of that corner. Like that. Do it at the other end as well. Just a few sweeps along the paper. So we just rounded each end off, and then I just like to tidy that up with a piece of finer grade sandpaper, and I sort of round it from front to back as well, but just very gently, because like I say, you don't want to take away from the length, and then it just neatens it up. And the same at the other end. And if you haven't done so already, just make sure you've got nice smooth edges. Like that. So do that with each of those leg pieces. So pop your leg pieces to one side, and then take your chair back piece and make a pencil mark in the centre. So make a pencil mark lengthways first, like that, a faint line, and then turn it and find the centre widthways. And you can make a little dot like that, and then erase the pencil line, and the dot will stay there. And then we're going to drill a hole, and I've got a 1.5mm 1/16 of an inch bit in here. Tighten that up. So drill through there. Like that. And then just to neaten up that hole, because obviously we can't get sandpaper in there, just use a cocktail stick and just push it in, support the piece with your fingers, and just twist the cocktail stick round. And as you're doing that, it's just neatening off that inside edge, and then you can do it from the back as well. And that will just give you a neater hole in there, and then you can just sand on the top and bottom to remove the bits that pushed through. To go through with a cocktail stick again, like that. Pop that back there. So now you want to take the back piece and one of the supports and bring in your long legs, and also you'll need a couple of pieces of spare strip wood, and these are 5x5, and that will just help us push everything together. So dispense some glue onto a piece of card. I'm going to use a cocktail stick to apply it, and you want to apply glue to each end of the seat back, the short ends like that. And lay that piece down on your work surface, and then both ends of the support. Okay, lay that piece there, and then you want to bring these leg pieces up so they're standing on the thinner edge, and attach the seat back so it sits just below that upper pencil line and is flat with your desktop. So it's going towards the back of the leg, and then so that this support sits below the lower pencil line. Like that. Bring the other leg in and attach it, making sure that the seat back and the support is still sitting below the pencil line. And just press them gently together, and it's very fragile, so it will all be moving about as you're doing it. Just try and keep everything straight, and then bring in your pieces of strip. You can just gently turn that towards you. This will just help you make sure that it's all sitting where it should, and then just really carefully press it together. And don't apply too much pressure or you'll find it'll all just sort of collapse. So that's that piece. So remove one piece of strip wood, and then you can just slide that along and that can be left to dry. And with this particular project we really need to leave the glue to set, not to sort of dry completely, because that would be about six hours I think with this one, but just leave it to sort of set the sort of half an hour. If you try to do anything with it before then, it will all just fall apart, just because it's such a flimsy piece. And then bring in your short legs, and we're going to do the same thing again. So we want the cocktail stick will be just below the higher line, and the support will be just below, just below the lower line. Got my little prototype there so I know what I'm doing. So again, apply a little bit of glue to each end of the cocktail stick, and pop that there. Each end of the support. Again, pop that down there, and once again we'll bring in fact I think I'll work that way this time. These we want them to sit on their sides, on the narrower edge. Cocktail stick will go there, the support below the lower pencil line, and then bring your other piece in and position the pieces again below the pencil lines. Then you can bring your pieces of stripwood in. Push that together. Make sure everything's flat against the work surface. And this is where the lines on your cutting mat come in handy, because you can just check that everything's sort of staying straight. Just pressing that together. Just remove that excess glue again. And then once again, just slide that along your work surface, and that piece can be left to dry as well. We're now going to construct the seat. So bring in your supports and the slats. Now for this to work, the slats need to be exactly the same length. So to check that, just lay them alongside the support and press them against it so that they're all straight, and then just check the ends. And if you've got any that are just fractionally too short, you can recut. If any are too long, you can just trim a bit off. But ideally you want straight line either side, otherwise that will throw the seat out. Okay, so once you've done that, we're going to round off one end of each support. So just as we did with the legs, this time we're just doing the one end. So begin by removing the corner on your sheet of sandpaper. And then bring in your finer piece of paper to tidy that up. And do the other one as well. And lay those down there. Now for this you're going to need a scrap of wood, and I'm using the 0.8mm thick wood. That's about 1/32 of an inch, but if you haven't got any of the sort of veneer type wood, you can use a piece of card, and all it is just to raise these slats up so that we're not sticking them to the bottom of the seat sides. We want them to be sort of stuck in the middle of the seat sides. So we'll pop those on there just to give them a bit of height, and then we'll be sticking them slightly up on the seat side. Okay, so begin by applying glue to each end of each slat. And you need to work quite quickly here so that the glue on the first slat doesn't begin to dry before we start fitting them. So lay them onto your piece of spare wood so they're all sort of fairly close together, and then you want to bring in the first side. Now we're only going to be doing this by eye, we're not going to be putting any measurements on, but we want the slats to be closer towards the front of the support. If I can just show you on the prototype there. So we've got about the thickness of the leg left at the back of the support there. So you want to stick them starting at the front so it's just a little bit away from that rounded edge, and then manoeuvre them all in. I've probably got a little bit too much left there at the back, and it helps here if you want to use a couple of cocktail sticks just to sort of hold them and manoeuvre. Put your back one where you want it to be, and then gently move all the others. And this is very fiddly, as you can see. Now let's bring that other side in, and then when you've got this here, it's easier to sort of position them all. So bring in your strip wood as well, sort of just gently push it together so we get a little bit of take on the glue. And then I'll try not to get my hand in the way, but let's just, now we can manoeuvre them. Make sure the lines in between are pretty sort of uniform as well. So once you're there and you're happy with the positioning, you can push it all together using your strip wood, and also press the slats down against that piece of spare wood. Make sure they're all flat. And carefully remove the strip wood. You can leave that spare piece under there, and once again slide that along, and that piece too can be left to dry. Okay, so once you've allowed a bit of time for the glue to dry, and these have been drying now for about an hour, all feel nice and solid now, we can begin the construction. So start by applying glue to the sides of the seat supports, the outer sides there like that, a bit too much, and a little bit on top as well, and there, and a little bit there, to take a little bit of that off. And then this is going to sit just below our cocktail stick support, and it will be quite a tight fit, so sort of try and put it in at a bit of an angle, like that, and then push it right up to the cocktail support, and so that the back of the seat supports are flush with the back of the leg. And let me just get it into position, then I'll sort of show you what I mean. Okay, so we're flush to the back of the seat legs there, and we're pushed right up against the cocktail stick like that. So we're not too worried about positioning of the seat at the moment, because we're going to sort of put it together quite quickly, so we'll still have time to manoeuvre before the glue begins to set. Okay, and now we're going to bring in the back piece, or the long piece rather, and we want to apply glue along the edges of the seat here. You can see where it will be joined. So I want to put a little bit of glue on about the third slat, or at the edge of the third slat. So put a bit there and a bit that side as well, and then put a little bit at the top of each of the shorter legs. And then this piece we're going to bring in from the front, and again it will be quite a tight fit. And then those sort of pencil lines that we did, the 18mm from the top edge, are where the top of the short legs should sit. So have a look that side first, and then turn and put that one into position. Sort of squeeze it into place, and then make sure that the long legs are sitting. You can sort of judge it by slat, so it should be sitting between that sort of second and third slat from the back. And this is quite tricky, getting it all at the right angle, and you also want your seat part to be upright, so you've still got time to manoeuvre that. Glue's still tacky, so you just want to keep checking it, manoeuvring. And if where you've been manoeuvring your glue has sort of started to dry, you can apply a little bit more. The main thing is getting the position correct first. Just using the prototype there to check. So keep sort of repositioning, manoeuvring, very gently pushing it into shape until you're happy that it's all sort of sitting where it should be. So all 4 feet should be nice and flat on the floor. So keep sort of pressing and angling and jiggling until they are, and your seat should be nice and straight and in line with that cocktail stick at the back there. So it's quite fiddly, but try not to get frustrated with it. Just keep going, keep manoeuvring, repositioning until it's sort of all sitting where it should. Press all the glued bits together. If you need to apply a bit more glue, just use the tip of your cocktail stick to sort of squeeze a little bit more glue in there, and eventually it will just all sort of sit right. So just before I apply my paint, I want to get rid of these pencil marks. So to do that, lay it down. Actually lay it down on your work surface and work at it from this angle. Just a tiny little bit of sandpaper, like that. And then there's sort of less chance that the chair will either move position or break. And there is the completed chair. Now I've painted that using Farrow & Ball's emulsion paint called Vert de Terre, and it's the same green that I used for the outside of the shed. Now I just gave that one coat of paint, and then once it had completely dried I gave it a gentle sand, concentrating more in certain areas to expose the wood, just to give it a look of sort of wear and tear, so on some of the slats and along the back and on the top of the legs there. Okay, so let's go ahead and put that inside the shed. Pop that there. And I think that's actually a really nice contrast with the wood dye. Now I based this chair on a real size one that I have. There it is. And it's actually extremely uncomfortable to sit on. So I think I'll add a little crocheted cushion to this, and maybe a little throw draped over the back of the chair, just because I like to add a crocheted throw to all of my projects. And if you'd like to do the same, you can find a video on my channel. It's actually one of the bed videos. I think it's the double bed, and I show you how to make granny squares to make a blanket and also a cushion. So just search through my videos and you'll find that. And as soon as I've made it, I'll show you my progress. I'll show you what that looks like inside. So I really hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Quite a fiddly little bit this time, but a really nice result, I think you'll agree. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I've got lots planned for this shed in itself, and then lots of other projects too. And if you do enjoy making doll's house furniture and miniatures, you might like to have a look at my books. I've got 4 of them now. My latest book was actually just released this week, so I'll be uploading a video review of that soon. I'll pop links to all of the books below. They're all available to purchase from Amazon. And for now, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.